Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Manage Her, the podcast where we reframe the invisible work of women as powerful leadership. I'm your host, Aimee Rickabus, author of The Manage Her, entrepreneur, and mama of six. Today's guest is someone whose work sits at the intersection of humanity, leadership, and innovation. Dr. Katie Pritchett is the founder of KPI Coaching, a leadership development and organizational consulting firm helping people and companies grow from the inside out. Before launching her own practice, Katie spent years as a professor of the business school at the University of Texas at Austin, where she specialized in experiential learning, helping people learn not just through theory, but through lived experience. She's since brought that same approach to her work with Fortune 500 companies, coaching leaders on the people side of transformation and change. She's a mother, a writer, and a voice for what she calls toxic resilience, the culture of overfunctioning and burnout that we've normalized in modern workplaces. Her upcoming book dives deep into this concept and asks a powerful question. What if resilience isn't about pushing through? What if it's about knowing when to rest? And what I love most, Katie is exploring how we can use AI not to replace humanity, but to return us to it. When we automate the mundane, she says we can make more space for what makes us truly human: creativity, connection, and community. Hey, Katie, it's nice to have you here today.
Hi,
Thank
Amy.
you.
What an intro. I really appreciate that. It's so good to be here.
Yay. I guess we should start. You've had such a dynamic career from academia to entrepreneurship to coaching Fortune 500 executives. What was the moment that made you say, it's time for me to step out on my own?
It's a good question. I've always had a side gig, a side hustle, which I feel like a lot of women can relate to. And I really appreciate you saying like stepping out because that's what it felt like. It felt like stepping out onto like a glass balcony 93 stories up.
Does.
um I had proven myself that I could do it, right? I just wanted to make it my full time. And I think it just took that moment of I was by all accounts externally thriving, corporate promotion, all these teaching awards, but I was hurting internally and exacerbated by a toxic boss, an abusive boss, to be more
Mhm.
clear. And what I realized was old patterns I thought I had shed many, many moons ago. I wasn't being the professional I know I am in my community, a leader at home, all those things. I was being 8 years old again. And that's because I had an abusive father. And so those triggers were coming back up. And I realized that no matter all the work you do, which I had been doing plenty, but my childhood survival strategies had taken over into this adult leadership. So I did something about it at that company. I built something different. I rewired. And when that worked for me, and when you do your work or you do something, you almost can't unsee it in other people. Do you
Yes. I totally,
I know
yes,
you
I
know,
can.
like
Yes, I
things
do. I know. I've done my
like
work and I'm like, oh, I see it. Yeah, you become self
yes.
aware of something and then you're like, oh, I can't help but see it somewhere else.
Correct. And it's like what you do. I really believe your work is so important. When you teach women about invisible work, they can't unsee it anymore. It's not invisible anymore. You're like, "Oh, but that's how it was for me." I'm like, "Well, I have developed a medicine, a protocol. I've developed I know what this transformation really feels like intimately, and I keep seeing it in so many other ways. How can I do this?" Almost like I could not do it anymore. I'm like, I need to be able to go out and support organizations and leaders in this way.
I
So
love
I've
that.
created KPI coaching.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. And you know when it's time. You're just like there's no not doing it when it's time to do something, I feel like.
Mhm.
So you have a PhD in experiential learning, which is so cool. Can you explain what that means and how it shapes your approach to coaching and leadership development?
Yes, that was my dissertation topic. That was my research topic for my PhD. And what I understand is that transformation, whether it's an individual human's transformation or we're doing an organizational transformation, is it happens through experience. It's not just through information, right? We could read all the manuals in the world, but until you start building those Lego blocks yourself and make some mistakes and have to undo them, like, that
Mhm.
learning doesn't happen. I know that transformation requires direct experience, not just intellectual understanding. So I studied service learning and experiential learning and how proximate experiences create that deeper change. When I was in academia, so I taught at UT Austin for almost 10 years in at the undergrad, MBA, executive ed level, and I would turn every classroom into a living lab, and that's because I wanted students, no matter what level, to work directly to apply that information. So, we partnered with startups and nonprofits, and we'd accelerate the learning, or I call it the acquisition of knowledge at the beginning of the semester, and we focused the rest of the semester on the application of the knowledge so that we could see it in real time and fail and be like, "Oh, that didn't work so well," and, like, just and really, ultimately, what happens is that creates more confidence. Even if you don't do it right the first time, you have more confidence,
Yes.
like, "Don't do it that
Yes.
way the next
Yeah.
time." And then a lot of people are kinda struggle with, like, "I'm so confused. So you went to academia, then you went to corporate," and yes, and then I have my own. And that's why I trademarked what I do with KPI Coaching as Keynote Labs, because it's that inspirational message you'd get of a keynote if you went to, like, a conference or something, but the lab, the experiential components help you realize you can't think your way into a new behavior. You have to embody
Yes.
it. Is that
Yes. I've been
okay?
really
I'm
doing a
very
lot of
passionate.
thinking. Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot because this comes up a lot in when I'm on the podcast, like how AI can give us answers, but it can't give us the experience of discovering the answer. It doesn't give us the process of how we got to the answer. So a lot of times, and this is where it's lacking, it is in the discovery process that our brains kind of uptake the information to a deeper level. And I think you're exactly right. If you're going to teach someone how to do something, you really have to feel the pain of, doing something. What do you do right? What do you do wrong? What can you correct? Where can you improve? But it's the process of discovery that is really where we deeply learn and uptake knowledge.
Yes, if you don't mind, I would say not only
Yeah.
the process, but the discomfort.
Yes.
And I was talking to a
Yes.
friend who has a teenager, and she was just saying, like, he puts all his homework in AI, and she's like, "I'm just feeling like he's not able to explain why or how he got there." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"He's not gonna be able to if" like, there's something about that discomfort, and then testing and learning, I think that has is
Yes.
still a really important part of our human experience.
Yeah, my son came home from a baseball game on Sunday and his head was down and I'm like, "What's wrong, dude? Like what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, I made 3 errors in the
Mhm.
game
Mm.
and I'm really disappointed in myself." And I said, "Well, did you learn from them? Do you like no you won't make that mistake again? Like, did you figure out what you did wrong?" Cuz he's only been playing for 2 years, but he's 16, so
Oh,
he's older. And,
yeah.
he's very talented, he's got a natural gift for it, but he doesn't have a lot of the baseball IQ that the other kids on his team have. So, for
Yep.
him, I said, "Well, the good news is you're not in the major leagues, and this is where you make the mistakes so that you don't make them again. This is where you get your baseball IQ, so you learn from the pain, you know? And in life,
Oh,
you
I
do, you
love
learn from
that.
the pain."
Good job, mama. I know, but as a mom, isn't it so painful to watch them make the mistakes? Like, and you
Oh.
know it's so important.
It hurts to watch him hurt, but at the same time, it's nice to see that it hurts him because that means it means something to him. It means, like, he wants to do better, and I'm like, "Okay, I like it." I'm like, "Alright."
Yes.
So then he goes to practice on Tuesday, and he comes back, and he's just bouncing through the door, and I'm like, "How did it go?" And he's like, "I didn't make any errors at all." He's like, "I had a great practice." And then, today he comes back from batting, and he's like, "My batting coach said that this is the best I've ever hit before." So sometimes when you make mistakes, when you fail, it actually helps you succeed. That is just the way it is. You have to fail to succeed.
Yes, every, like, setback, I can look back, have enough life now to look back, I'm like, "Ah, was it a setback or was it a set up?" Like,
It
and I love
was.
what you said that it's because it means something to him. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
so if you fall down, if you have this setback, taking that knowledge and experiential learning, the experience of
Yes.
doing it, you embody it because it means something to you to show up differently or better the next time. Yes.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's exactly it. It's just so cool. And for me, this is like such, as I'm doing the work, as I'm doing the podcast, I'm like, whoa, I feel like I learned something from every single guest that applies to my life, either as a CEO or especially as a mom all the time. But yeah, you've worked deeply on the people side of IT. What have you learned about the intersection of technology and human behavior?
Oh. I don't know if your podcast is long enough. Um, I can just tell, like, a quick story. What I'll say what I used to say to, like, Fortune 100 leaders when we're a lot of times my team would go in, the whole company was going and doing, like, maybe, moving a company's database from on-premises to cloud, which a lot of organizations have already done that, but some were laggards, and so we're doing things like that, for example. And what I realized, like, the technology is eventually gonna work, but the people may not. And almost inevitably, every single time when the project was out of scope, out of budget, over time, whatever, it was a people issue. And I realized that, and I already knew this, but like change management isn't about the new software or the technology. It's about understanding that when people resist the change, it's their nervous system in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so I would have to go in and teach leaders. Like there's one of the stories I tell a lot in my keynotes or things is there's a vice president at Apple. He was really upset because he thought I was there to sell, like, well, this project's all over time and over budget, so we need more money. And like I was basically there to sell him on more hiring our company to do more. He got really mad at me and he said, with all due respect, young lady, which wasn't respectful.
You think?
Which was what we're talking about. I'll take the young comment, like,
Yeah.
"Thanks." "Thanks for the comment that my wrinkle cream's working." Um, but he said, "Well, you act like with all due respect, you're acting like leadership is rocket science, and they either need to get on board or get out of the way." And my nervous system almost went into fight, flight, or freeze mode because that was just so triggering to me, but I took a deep breath and I responded with something very divinely that came down from the heavens because 'cause I'd never said it before, but I've said it at least 18 million times since. "With all due respect, sir, leadership I agree, leadership is not rocket science, but it is neuroscience. And you know how technology is wired, but you don't know how your people are wired. And if we can meet them where they are, I can guarantee you we will get this project back on track. But right now, it's not the software, it's the people." That's like a story to just kind of sum up that idea of the human behavior and IT. And
Yeah.
I saw it over and over and over again.
Well, I we've been a big part of digital transformation too, and I can as
IT.
we're
Fast,
implementing
right?
all of this digital transformation, yeah,
Mm,
for my VAR with Tomahawk, that was I didn't even we didn't even know what it was called when we were doing it as everything was moving to the cloud and all the softwares, becoming
yeah.
SaaS and, basically this huge transition and transformation happened within the Fortune 500 companies in the US during COVID. And, I wondered myself as I was implementing all of these new technologies, wow, how are they getting these 80,000 employees at this one company on board for this huge technological shift that's happening with these companies? That's there you are on the human side of it. I never
Mhm.
really see the people side of it. I see
Oh,
the engineers, but I never see the really on the employee side, the employees that we've worked with, we were able to the ones we can automate things for, of course, they're
right.
stoked on that. But, I think there's been such a gigantic shift that I can see how the humans could have a really hard time. I mean, I had a hard time switching to cell phones.
I know, you
I
can't
had a hard
imagine your
time with
life without it
email.
now. Yeah, yeah,
So, this is way bigger. What's been
it is.
happening is much, much bigger and happening at much more like exponential rate. The technology has been changing so quickly.
Exponential, that's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've said that AI can actually give us more time to be human, and I love that. Could you unpack what that means?
That's my glass half full approach because I know that others don't feel that way. I think that
Mm.
other people are like, "Great, we can produce more." But I have a deeply held belief, Amy, that
Me
we
too.
are human beings, not
Mhm.
human doings. And
I
so
love that.
oh, please reuse it. Tell everyone, you know. But, I get so frustrated because so what? So we can produce more, so we can't consume more? Like, what does this mean? And so my ideal glass half full approach is that like let AI handle the transactional repeatable tasks that drain our energy and that white space that creates that machines can't replicate or maybe I'll also say that I don't believe we should let them replicate, is like deep listening, creative problem solving. Now, I love to brainstorm with an AI bot, like, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, or authentic connection and experience. Like, it
Yes.
cannot experience something on your behalf. All that money that's saved in the organization and that time, send those people on a retreat. Like, get them back in their bodies, get them connecting with each other, get them laughing, get them telling stories. Now, so the technology can summarize hundreds of thousands of documents for you. You don't need a human to do that. But when they connect, when they go do a ropes course or they have go to one of my keynote labs, wink, wink, or like they do something
Yes.
human, how
Yes.
is that going to enrich your organization? So that's my hope for
I
AI.
love that. I was keynoting on Monday and this
Ah,
came up with the audience,
yeah.
and it was, basically, women want to know, is AI good or bad, and it's going to take, everyone's afraid it's going to take my job. And
Right.
for me, I had an experience with an employee. We work with the world's second largest food and beverage company, and we walked the very first meeting, she said, "I'm still hand putting these orders in by hand, these purchase orders." And my VP was like, "Oh, I have a software that we could automate that with." And so we did, and we were back there a couple of years later getting an award. And she
Yes.
stood up and she said, "I now have more." She had a master's degree. "I have more time and I have more mind share." I was in the middle of writing The Manager at the time. So
Oh,
what I realized was, oh my gosh, for women, because this book started out as the feminist manifesto of the fourth industrial revolution.
you told me that. I love it.
I was just wondering how AI was gonna impact women as a tool, as this, industrial in every industrial revolution has given women more freedom and more time and more standing in society. And so I was curious about that, and it got me thinking about moms, and
Mhm.
as we have more time, what are we gonna do with it? And what I realized is the one thing AI can't do, it's give you the experience. And also in business, the reason we were able to get the contract with the second largest food and beverage company in the world was
Mhm.
relationships. We had a
Exactly.
relationship with a guy who had a relationship with a guy. We have more time to build real IRL communities, online communities. We have more time to spend together and work on our relationships with real people. If we do that, success.
Yes. What a beautiful, like, reminder about that. Yeah, people
Yeah.
prefer to do business with people they trust, and we build trust by spending time together and building relationships.
Yes, and we'll have more time for that. I mean, if we're automating our mundane tasks, if I don't have to do the dishes, if my robot can make dinner, maybe I'll have more time to, have my friends over. It wouldn't be such a burden to have your neighbor over for dinner at that point. You have more time to socialize and build relationships with the people around you.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
It's possible.
It is possible, and I think that's one of the things that's so critical for women, in my opinion, is, we have a choice, we have limited time and energy, and we have a choice. We can, like, resist, we can choose to push and be like, "No, no, no," or we can choose to be a part of the future and co-create it in a way that's meaningful. And so when you say that about the bot doing dishes, if that feels exciting for the women listening, how do we tell Dyson or whoever else, whoever is building, like, that's what we want? Like, we can participate in the creation of the future if
Yes.
we're not spending our time resisting it. So that would be
And
one of
if
my
we don't, the thing about the invisible work is only women know what it is. So only women can automate it. So women need to be involved in the creation of the future if we want to automate our mundane tasks.
preach,
Trust me, a
Amy.
man does not know what we're doing. He
No.
wouldn't know how to automate it. So we have to get involved in the automation of our households at the very least. We've got to figure this out. So I'm calling this is a call. This is a rise up for the women. Like, let's join us in the future. Let's get into this technology thing. Let's figure out how we can stop. We've got master's degrees and PhDs, and we are folding laundry and we are washing dishes. And this is kind of ridiculous. We could free up our time and our mind share to do higher level tasks in society and within our families if we didn't have to do all this invisible work that should be visible and therefore automated.
Ugh. If it wouldn't break, I would drop my mic right now. Yes. Yes,
That's what the
I
book was about. The book is
I
like,
know.
"Hello, girls." Like, if I resisted technology, I really did. Like, as a kid, I mean, I was in the computer lab. Computers were fine. But then, like, the cell phone thing, the internet, I was like, "I just don't know if this is gonna catch on." And so when AI came along and we started implementing it in the Fortune 500, I was like, "Wow, what they have is so much cooler than there was really nothing available for, like, consumer level." So as soon as it came along the consumer level, I'm like, "I have to learn this tool. I have to learn how to use this tool because it's like building a house without a Dremel." Like, of course, you're gonna
Oh, yeah.
use a power screwdriver and a pneumatic powered nail gun to put a house
Right.
together. No one's gonna use a hammer anymore if you have a better tool, and this is a better tool.
It's a better tool, and,
Yeah.
you hit on something that I think bridges our work. I agree, I am there with you, I am in the church. I'm with you. But where I think women specifically struggle in that, like, well, I can't tell you everything that's in my head and all the steps that I do to get my child ready for school or whatever it is. Especially, I have friends with neurodivergent children, and there's
Yes.
so much mental load on their plates. What I've started to notice is this friction of that because women specifically have over identified with the badge of the burnout. I'm really trying to get away from
Yes.
the word burnout because it's now become so pop culture, but so what I use is toxic resilience
And
because
you're right on, and you're spot on because
yeah,
moms are being toxically resilient in this, it just as much at home in the
yes.
domestic. Yeah.
Yes. So let me define that really quick.
Yeah.
So resilience,
Yes.
that's a good thing. Like generally, we like you hear the word resilient and people generally have a positive orientation to it. But just like positivity, there's toxic positivity, masculinity, toxic masculinity. Just like what I came to understand, this was the medicine I built for myself. This is the work I did for myself with that after that boss was I realized I had become toxically resilient, meaning I wore as a badge that I could push through, bounce back, work harder, and get it done. So I wired my brain literally to work so much harder and push and prove like people pleasing and overcommitting my time, saying no when my body, saying yes when my body said no. And if you look up the word resilience or resilient in like on dictionary.com or whatever, one of the things that it'll tell you, one of the phrases is to bounce back to its shape. And I started to realize that, like, yeah, I would work my butt off, but I was going back. So I was basically getting through something, but I wasn't growing through it. It was almost like, "Oh, something bad happens, hold my breath, work really hard. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this homeostasis that didn't exist." The opposite of toxic resilience that I set up in my work is regeneration, the idea that you regenerate. You actually let that break and compost that into building something new. But I think it's really important for people to understand that toxic resilience can the voice in your head, the toxic resilient voice is work harder, be more perfect, control more things. And so that's where I'm saying what I see the pattern in women is, well, if I give up this invisible work, who am I?
Yes. One of my sister-in-laws, when I was writing the book, I was like, well, I had been talking to another CEO who worked in AI, a woman, a young woman, and she said, well, all that stuff's going to get automated in the next, like, by 2030. And so I was talking to my
Probably
sister-in-law
before.
about it. Yeah. And she's like, and I'm like, well, what are we going to do when we have some, bot to wash our dishes? What are women, what's next for us? Like, what do we do with our extra time? Can't sit around and drink Chardonnay. I'm not going to. But,
No.
and she was, like, very upset. She's like, "I like washing the dishes." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, "Okay." And there's gonna be some resistance to and there you have it. I don't know what that is, but it is a thing. I was like, "Okay." I'm like and sometimes I like washing the dishes too. I just don't wanna do them when I've been at meetings all day and I'm exhausted and the house is, torn apart by the 7 people that live there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like there is something cathartic about it, right? Back to
Mhm.
experience.
Yes.
But I just wonder about in that example, like what's the story underneath it? What are you scared? Like I find that more women are scared of their potential than scared of failure or like we have insane potential.
I see that.
And there's so much divinity in women. And
Mhm.
for women to be in our full authenticity, fully express selves, with this like divinity and masculinity. We can't always be pushing and we can't always be cycling through and feeling. But when there's a balance, and I think we've just had the pendulum swing has just been so far in the produce, 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 produce.
Yes. Very yang, not very yin. No rest.
No
Yeah.
rest.
No rest, all work. I'm kind of hoping we can swing back. I hope that the 4th industrial revolution actually pushes us back into some sort of more place of stasis for for humanity, where we have a better balance between work and play and rest and work and, masculine and feminine. And I really hope that we move more towards an egalitarian society. What
Me
would be
too.
nice? That'd be very
That's
nice.
why we connect. That's why we hit it off.
For sure. So tell me, how do you personally use AI in your coaching or business to create space for creativity and connection?
I would love to learn more hacks. So you please, like I'll follow, there's lots of things, but just some of the like easy administrative stuff is like it can be its own assistant. So synthesizing notes, identifying patterns, drafting initial emails or frameworks, automating things on my calendar. That's an assistant. Like that is just like the easy low hanging fruit. Or I'll brainstorm too. I'll put things that I've written in a whole body of work, but I never just accept it the way it is. Like, I still bring my embodied intelligence. I still bring my intuition. I think that's really, really critical to share.
Yeah, it gives you a good first draft, but you got to go through and put a little human on it, right? Give it a little bit of your own flavor.
Yes, like,
Yeah.
you just funny little example, I'm also my son's soccer coach. Speaking of, like, I run this whole business and do whatever, but, like, um I coach 8-year-olds and, I sit for, like, a practice plan and then, the starting lineup. But, like, I knew that one child was gonna be out,
Mhm.
and maybe coming at halftime, and I know never to pair these 2 kids together because 'cause they're gonna end up wrestling on the field. Then, like, so, like, if I just took what AI told me, we would've had a wrestling match instead of a soccer match. So, like, it's just,
Yes.
but it saved me so much time in
Oh, yeah.
thinking about, like, a fun practice plan, and then it was like, "Oh, I can switch out these 2 kids. Let me do a little gut check. Yep, that's a better starting lineup." So, I did that in less than 4 minutes, 3 minutes, whereas 3 years ago, I was also his soccer coach. That would have taken me almost an hour because I would have really poured over it, you know?
Yes. Oh, I know. My husband coaches 2 baseball teams right now, and I'm always like, "Babe, you've gotta figure out a way to use the game changer stats plus, like, your own notes and come up with the lineup for the game rather than" 'cause he does, it takes, like, an hour. I'm like, "Oh." He's like, "Teach me how to use AI." I'm like, "Okay, I'll teach you."
No, no, Amy, that is invisible work. You tell him to ask ChatGPT to teach it how to and you
I know. I'm like, "Who taught
no.
me?" I'm like, "Nobody taught me." I just kind of figure you just play with it until you figure it out, I guess, but
Exactly. Come on, hubby.
I
Baseball
know.
hubby, you can do
He's so cute. He'll just need something done, and he'll be like, "Do you think you could rewrite this email for me?" And he knows I'm gonna use ChatGPT to, like, rewrite an email or a text message, and I'm like, "Babe, we just gotta get you doing this for yourself."
Yep, yep.
Yep. So what would you say to leaders who fear that technology that will make their people less human or even less necessary?
I hear it a lot.
Mhm.
So a little tough love is if it's the person who fears of being replaced, I think, how what is your unique genius? What lights you up? Start thinking about that. Instead of resisting it, think about, okay, AI is going to take my job. And the way that I would tell my leader that I'm going to use AI in this way so that I can. And I think that's a really powerful phrase. I'm going to use AI. We're going to use AI so that now I can. And I just think like I try to a little tough love, but that empowerment of instead of it's happening to you, that sort of victim mentality, like
Mhm.
what is in your control? Where can you get some agency?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, you're writing a book on toxic resilience. I'm so proud of you. What inspired the topic? Oh, we kind of went into that a little bit. And what does it mean to you, I guess? Really, like, this is your first book, right?
Well, I did write a 267-page dissertation, but
That
no one's
counts.
reading it. I wouldn't even recommend it, to be honest. So, yeah, yes.
That is so fun. So fun. I'm just so proud of you. You know, you're doing it and how's your process going? What's the process been like for you?
It is so humbling.
Mm.
It is a daily ask and gut check of it's a cycle, Amy. You're like, "Who do I think I am that I have something to say?" And then I'm like, "I do. I think I have something to say because me 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago needed this." And so it's just like that constant, like, ego check. Why am I doing this? That takes energy and time before even actually putting pen to paper or
I
fingers to
actually think
keyboard.
that's the hardest part of writing a book. It's like this internal struggle with yourself where you're, oh, I don't want to, be too big. I don't want to, oh my gosh, why do I think I'm so important? But then you kind of have to dig into the legacy part of being an author and publishing something and knowing that it's going to live, much longer than you do and have your idea then will have life well beyond your lifespan and that part of it is so for me, that's what got me through when I got really stuck.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, and I appreciate you sharing and validating that that was something for you too. I think a lot of people feel it, but I would imagine especially women. Yeah, and then I have to, remember, like, some of the books that really opened my eyes or changed things for me, what if they didn't? So that's
Yes.
another one that helps me get going. Like, what if Brené Brown or Glennon Doyle or Jen Hatmaker or, like, what if they didn't write those books that really meant something to me?
Yes,
What if
absolutely. Yeah.
Aimee Rickabus did not write The Manager?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, it's it really is one of those things and you kind of have to push past your ego because your ego is actually sometimes your upper level limit
Yep.
and really get past this lifetime with it. And once I get past this lifetime with my stuff, I'm able to push much further than I thought I could into my actual potential as a person.
I know, we are limitless, like,
Mhm.
we are just, like, one with source, and so if you can
Yes.
actually check that ego
Yeah.
and let your brilliance flow and you know the other thing too, Amy, it's like the other thing I was thinking about is, like, but no one's lived my story. Like, I have a battle with infertility. I have lots of people I know who have dealt with infertility, but my unique story and when it hit and how I dealt with it, and that's when I really started to understand toxic resilience, and I could really apply that. It's like there's someone out there, we all have our stories and we all sing from a certain frequency or note or whatever it is, so that those other people can find you and realize it's possible too. Anyway, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
I
I'm
love it
sharing.
though.
I
I'm
hope that
into
it
it.
inspires someone else who wants to write.
Yes. Yeah, I hope so too. I think that anybody who feels like they need to write a book, for me, I really felt like I was channeling this book. Like these were words like when it started pouring through me, it was like brain on fire, here it comes. Like there wasn't I didn't sit down and write the book. I actually just picked my phone up and started talking it into my notes because it was just pouring out of me as whenever I would get in the car alone, it was there and I would just talk it into the notes of
Yep.
my phone, and that was really that's where it came from. Most of the chapters of my book and my new book too have been written that way. Me driving down the road talking into the notes in my phone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because just how clear that it's your authentic voice, you know?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it literally is me talking. It's just me talking and talking into it's like as if I'm just talking into the void, but I know that, it's for someone's ears to hear. Like I'm just receiving a message that's a download for someone else.
Uh, no, I just opened to one page of your book. Every parent decides when their kid's gonna get a phone. What kind of phone? What stage? And I'm like, yes, this is exactly what my husband and I keep talking about. We know our son's too young now, but this is it. Like, oh, you're speaking to me. Like, I could open up any page in this book. Women's creativity is so needed in the world. Amy, I
Mhm.
just turned to your page and are like,
Aw, thanks,
like,
honey.
yeah.
Yeah, this book was a message for women, and it didn't come from me, I can tell you that much. It really, I feel like divinely downloaded, used me, and then it was like this, I just was talking this book as it came through my specific I channeled through, it was like that was just felt like this was so the message for this time for us women, or I really see from my vantage point in the IT industry, I really see a lack of women in IT. I see a lack of women's ideas in the future of technology, and technology is the future. And to me, it's very disconcerting because I do believe that women are always considering the next generation. We're thinking about our children, our grandchildren. I really think that women tend to be about more than just the money. We're driven by a much,
Community. Mhm.
yes,
Yep.
purpose, community, much deeper, MO, of what's motivate it's not the Ferrari for us, really. It's always about way more than that, and I think that, I would love to see more of us in the future because I think we'll make a much better future for humanity if there are more of us in IT and getting our ideas out there.
I agree. I
Yeah,
totally agree, and I think there's a systematic failure. That's probably is not the topic of our podcast today, but
let's
there's
do
a
it.
systematic failure for women not going into IT
Mhm.
and, like, where the woman's place is, and we can see it all the way, even early education, the pipeline, I can now see that, and that was actually something I did study in my PhD program, like, really looking at, like, some of the bigger systems at play that end up where people end up in the labor and the workforce. Those structural issues can be addressed, and we can address them. It can even be as small as, like I said, like a woman saying, "This is the type of work that I need automated." But yes, I want it. Yes, we need to
Exactly.
participate. And what a beautiful, you just said something. I think this is a really great way to reframe it, right? Because we don't want women to feel like they have to push harder. But what means a lot to a lot of women is the next generation and the nurturing, and how do I do something bigger than myself? Here it is.
Here it
Here it is.
is. Here it is. Yeah, we are. We're gonna be the ones. We're gonna have to automate our invisible labor because it is invisible. So girls, come on, let's automate it. I think about my daughter who's 4, and I think, wow, when she's in 25 years, when she's a mother, how different the world is gonna be, and all of the technology that will make her life so different. Hopefully, at least 50% of that technology will be invented by a woman who hasn't even thought of it yet.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I
like,
love that.
you look around, and always looked around, I was like, "Look around." Some of the richest kids I went to school with, their dads one of them and had metal toilets that he sold to prisons. It's like everything that you see around you, somebody manufactured, made, all of these little gadgets and gizmos from the door handles to the locks to the tables in the room. I mean, I can look around and see so many different companies, so many different products. I really want to make women aware of the fact that, we need to innovate, and it could be as something as innovative as a new locking system, or, all of these different things that are going to need to be done that maybe no one else, maybe the men just don't see it, but maybe we do.
They might not realize how important it is because they don't do it.
Right.
Like, my mother-in-law just happens to receive a gift on her birthday, but did my husband do it? So he
No.
might not see that that's a need to automate.
Yes. Yes, there's a need to automate that.
Silly
Absolutely.
example, but you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes,
If the
indeed.
people who are making the technology aren't experiencing the pains, they're not gonna solve for the pains in the technology.
Yes. And
Full
therein
stop.
lies the problem, and therein lies the rise up, and therein lies the solution is women. The solution is us. We are the solution to our own problems.
Yep.
Yeah, we just have to show up for each other, that's all. So
Take this winner with Shania Twain, "Let's go, girls."
let's go, girls. Exactly. I'm ready. Let's go, girls. Let's do this. I'm here to help. I really am. That's what the manager community is all about. I really want to build a community that we can help support people who have really good ideas and bring their ideas to fruition. I'm working on putting together our very first conference, which is going to be in March in Las Vegas. And it's like, I'm pumped up because I feel like I'm building something that needs to be built so that the woman of the future who so that my daughter can have what she needs when she grows up.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that's
I
you
we
leaning into your purpose, yeah, and to your motherhood, and yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go back to burnout here. Why do
Okay.
you think we've glorified burnout and overfunctioning as signs of strength.
I don't think it was we. I think it was passed down to us because that's not the natural human state. And that's what I've come to
Yes.
learn. We're not broken. Your patterns were handed to you, but your power is not. That's what I was going to say. I'm like, that's my go to phrase. Your patterns are handed down. And so, just like a lot of us learned as children that our worth was tied to productivity. And so, that workaholic believes that their value comes from output. The conflict avoidant leader was just taught a pattern in their household that emotions aren't safe. One of my other go-to phrases, I have many, Amy. I should write a book.
You they'll all be in your book. I'm realizing when I was
I
writing
know
my
they will
book, I
all
was
be
like,
in
all of
here,
my
but
phrases are in there and all of my mothers.
oh, yeah, I think so my other big phrase is, like, a lot of times what I notice about leaders is, like, it's not your leadership style, it's your childhood survival strategy in a business suit. So if we can
Mm.
strip that away, what is your leadership style? So the glorified burnout, I think that comes from a wounded place, and I think it's passed down, and I think there's a system was created around patriarchal capitalistic principles that set us up as believing we have to produce 24/7.
Absolutely. I think Kathleen Reed and I talked about this early on in the podcast, how we just need to become aware of the things that our parents modeled to us that don't really work in the modern relationship, and bringing modify the behavior once you become aware of it, because we do. Our moms modeled, like, oh, my mom's such a workaholic, I love her, but she's such a worker, she really modeled, workaholism. And it's not, for me, it was something I really had to unlearn in my 30s, how to work without being toxic, how to work and still practice nonviolence towards myself. In yoga we call it ahimsa. It's like,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
work
Mhm.
without making myself sick.
Without making
That's
myself
always
sick,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, my
Yeah, it's
family was martyrdom.
nice. Everybody has something,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a very common one.
Mhm,
Mom was often the martyr.
mhm.
Yeah, so for you, what does healthy resilience look like, especially for women balancing leadership, motherhood, and identity?
This is my favorite. So, I said this earlier, but it's important to say, like, um, a lot of people understand about, like, regenerative farms or regenerative farming or regenerative fishing or whatever. So I think of that as, like, healthy resilience is regenerative. I think of it like back to the like regeneration for the next generation. So it's like that idea, like, okay, if a forest fire happens, the exact same ecosystem doesn't grow back. What grows back is richer, more diverse, different animals come. And so that's that idea of, like, actually letting things break and then choosing what am I going to take with me. So you really hit on it earlier, actually. Like, it's recognizing the cycle. So you have to recognize that in your 30s, and your body will tell you before your brain does. The next thing is you have to rewire the pattern because that pattern is deep, 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 deep. And patterns exist for a reason, either to keep us safe or to save energy. And usually as an adult, you don't need either of those in that moment. And so then you rebuild something new. And so healthy resilience for women who are balancing everything is like your invisible labor isn't a personal failure. It's a systemic issue that we've all bought into this system, unfortunately, and it's breaking down. And you can't, like, yoga class your way out of a structural problem, but you can stop the pattern of making it your fault. You can stop the pattern that's no longer serving you, as you just beautifully said.
I love it. Yeah, you have to become aware. First, you have to admit you have a problem. I think that's the first step
Yep,
in
yep,
the
yep.
12 steps. But I think we, as women, we have to admit that, the invisible work issue comes first. We have to admit we have a problem with it. The fact that it's invisible is a problem.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so unfair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so unfair. Yeah, it really is. And so, how can companies begin to shift away from toxic productivity towards genuine well being?
Well, in an ideal world, companies would stop treating people like machines that need optimizing and start treating teams and people like ecosystems that need regeneration. So, some more practical tips that I work with organizations, it's like measure outcomes, not hours. There's been a lot of companies having a return to office policy and they care about the hours of you badging in and out. Did we not learn something in COVID? I think that leaders need to work on how to create psychological safety in their teams so that people can name problems in a safe space or without being labeled like a over complainer. And I think that organizations should take that if a person or a leader is burning out, it's a systems failure. It's not a personal weakness. In the book and the things that I talk about, regeneration demands the question, what needs to change so this doesn't keep happening? Like I was at an organization where people were dropping like flies taking sabbaticals, mental health sabbaticals. And the leaders would be like, "Well, there's another person. I guess it's contagious now. Everybody just wants it." Instead of like, "There's a do you you know what you know there's something you can do about it."
Right, you've got a culture problem. There's something wrong with your system, right? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, with the bringing just self-awareness into management, that's gonna be so nice. I see a lot of the women that I work with are bringing self-awareness into the management C-level and management level, and I'm like, "Yes, it's gonna be important for the humans as we automate things, that we have very aware, people teach that we're teaching EQ in management and in business."
Exactly, because, it only takes one. I've worked in
Mhm.
an organization where, like, it only took one high up leader to actually take real PTO, put a real out of office message, and see people realize he was not gonna actually show up for others to feel safe to do the same. Like, it can start with one person can start a movement.
I love it. I love it. So you've mentioned that motherhood influenced your switch from academia to coaching. How did that experience reshape your view of work time and meaning?
Well, I might have mentioned it earlier, but, my husband and I dealt with infertility for years, a lot of loss and sadness, and I tried to really control my way through it and try to motivate my ovaries. But when I finally became a mom, we were told, like, "That's your miracle baby, that's it," like, and so we were happy, we're very happy, but, we got pregnant, actually, and it was, like, the most joyous moment ever, but that pregnancy nearly killed me, truly, actually, in the hospital.
Oh,
And I understood after that experience viscerally that transformation happens through us, not to us. Like, no one can make you transform. And so that experience was painful. And embracing what that felt like and composting it, it made me realize that you can't achieve motherhood, you can't achieve fertility. And so back to that human being versus human doing, it's like the most important work isn't achieving, the most important work is becoming. And that really
yes.
shifted everything for me. It shifted things that were the leaders I was around, and I felt like I could really offer something to teams and organizations.
I love that. And you probably wanted to manage your hours, right? Because now
Oh,
you got a little
yes,
dude.
I'm never missing yes, and because we have one and that's, this is what we have, I'm not missing a field trip over my dead body, like, I am chaperoning those field trips. Yes, Amy, thank you.
Yeah.
So, it became important for me that a system or someone else's insecurity or childhood coping mechanism wasn't gonna prevent me from becoming and enjoying, let me say
Yeah.
enjoying motherhood. Like, we don't get another kindergarten year. He's in
Yeah.
2nd grade. Like, it we
Yeah.
just
You gotta be really intentional when you're doing those things because the time goes so fast.
Yeah.
It goes fast. The more kids I have, I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Even my older kids are like, "I can't believe Indy's gonna turn 5 next month." It goes
Oh,
so fast,
it's like
but
years
she,
older.
that's our we have a 3-year-old also, but our little girl in the house, we have 4 boys. So we have
Okay.
baby Paul, Indy is gonna be 5, and then 11, 13, and 16 in the house, and,
Wow.
but the big kids are just like, "Mom, it's going so fast." I'm like, "Just wait till you have your kids. It's crazy." But yeah,
Yeah.
being intentional with your time when you become a mother, because you become a mother. Mothers are born just like babies are born. Yeah,
Yep.
we always said that too. I had all my kids were born at home, so I felt every pain. There were no drugs, and I
Literally.
think it was very transformational for me. Had the experience of becoming a mother was very transformational for me, and I feel very much I don't know, it gave me I very seriously have always taken my parenthood very seriously, me being a mother, my motherhood very seriously, like, this is a
Mhm.
really important job to raise humans and to
Very.
raise kind humans that will be productive members of society.
Yep. That is
Yeah.
literally my number one purpose and goal. It's like, how can I add to that part of humanity? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And what lessons from motherhood have you translated into your leadership philosophy?
Be present, not perfect.
Oh, so important. Yeah, they just want you there, right? And and that's leadership in general. I remember I had a friend who was directing his very first film, and afterwards I was talking to one of my friends who crewed it, and I said, "How did he do?" And he goes, "Well, he couldn't make any decisions." And I realized in leadership, your only role in leadership is to make decisions and be firm on them. You can always change your
Yep.
mind later, but your job as a leader, whether you're a mom or a CEO, is
Right.
to have a vision and then execute on the vision with very clear decision making. What's for dinner? Chicken pot pie. What it's
Ooh,
Tuesday, it's
give me
taco night.
some.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
it. But you really if you're not clear on it, then everybody in the house is gonna go, "Well, I want this and I want that." Not, all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 different orders and you're gonna be a short order cook. But if you have a nice definitive answer of what is for dinner Yes. And
Yeah.
Make decisions,
Thank
execute
you.
quickly.
Mhm.
Yes, and show up. It doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect tacos, but the fact that you've decided you're gonna do something and show up, it doesn't have to be my kids don't care if it's perfect. Just get it done. Be there. The fact that mommy's
Also,
making it is actually
spoil
the best.
exactly, spoiler alert too, like, nothing and nobody is perfect. Like,
Yeah. I'm so lucky that I didn't get the perfection. I actually got like I'm more of a ready, shoot, aim kind of girl. Perfection kind of missed me, and I'm very grateful for that because oh my gosh, that's a hard one. And my mother was never the perfectionist. She was always the get her done girl. And
mhm,
definitely learned that from mama. Thanks, mom. That's actually a good
aw,
one.
that's a good one, yeah.
That's a good one. What do you hope your son learns from watching you design a life on your own terms?
Ooh, this one'll make me cry.
Mhm.
I want him to know that breaking cycles is possible, and I don't need him, I don't want there's no reason he needs to carry what wounded me. My husband and I are intentionally creating a very different life for him than one that we received, and specifically for me, and there was this social media trend not that long ago where parents were asking their kids to complete phrases, like toxic phrases parents used to say. Did you happen to catch that on social media?
I did not. I'm sorry, I am more of a creator than a consumer, so I'm
Good,
just getting
good,
back
I
into
need to get
social
there.
media.
Well, I created this. So there was a trend, like, just things like just things that people would say. So one thing that my abusive father would often say is like, "I brought you into this world so I could take you out of it."
Ugh.
And I unfortunately at a very young age believed he could and would, and there was evidence. I was curious what Lincoln would say, and I asked him complete the phrase. Actually, we did several, but the one that really stuck with me was, "I brought you into this world so," and he completed it by saying, "So we could have fun." And it's on my social media. And Amy,
Mm.
exactly like what you just did, I did that plus, like, cried and and so I was like, "Okay, this is important. I don't want him to inherit my pain, I want him to inherit my healing."
Mhm.
And like you said, like, the times are gonna be changing. Like, your daughter, what's gonna be like when she's a mom, what if Lincoln chooses to have children, like, what we're doing now might not work for him, and I want him to know that, like, speaking his truth and really tapping into his intuition is more important. His intuition and trusting him and what's right for him. So,
I love that. That's such
yeah.
a good
Even if it's to
good
disappoint me, which'll
Yeah.
suck, but, like
Totally, but yeah, teaching your kids to be authentic to themselves and honor themselves is really important more than I very much would love my children to I hope that they feel secure enough to be exactly who they were born to be.
Same.
without
Mhm.
yeah. So you've worked with both students and executives. What's the common thread that you see in how people learn and grow?
Yeah, I said it before, but just again, that transformation, like real change at the human level or the organizational level, it doesn't happen when they think something new. It happens when they feel something different in their body. Like we have to actually institute that and we have to include the feelings. And I remember having a boss when I was very, very young was like, we don't have time for feelings in the workplace. And that is what differentiates us from AI. And so I know that the proximate experience is getting close enough to a new reality that your nervous system can recognize it as safe and possible is critical for change.
Yeah, so this is the good follow-up. How do you help leaders create environments where their teams feel safe enough to grow?
That is the work that just doing more and more of. And it starts with like recognizing your patterns. Then, like, we have to work on the rewiring. That's the hardest part. But helping them with the conversation pieces of like, this is uncomfortable, but that's just data. And then, help, like, what do we actually want? We want to be a company that thinks differently. Then we have to challenge status quo. Like we can't go into meetings and have groupthink if we want to think differently. So helping them anchor into what they really, really want, what is that goal you really want, and then alignment of actions there.
And when you think about your own legacy as a teacher, a coach, and a mom, what do you want it to stand for?
So what I say to what I is like my kind of thing on a repeat is that my MLK speech, Martin Luther King speech would be like, "I have a dream." I have a dream where with a world where work is a source of fulfillment and growth, not stress and recovery, and that's driven by conscious caring leaders. And I just think if we all could you just imagine with me, Amy, a world where like everyone made enough money and was so happy because they were doing what fulfilled them
Yes.
and where they could grow. Like, could you just imagine the most abundant, beautiful, gorgeous, thriving world?
Yes,
If you
I
love
can.
working on cars, you don't have to worry if your family's gonna have enough money. If you love creating art, you're gonna have enough to eat. Like, if you love teaching children how to ride a bike, like, I just can you imagine? So, like, I want my legacy to be proof that another way is possible and we can lead from wholeness, we can regenerate, we don't have to work from depletion. I could go on, but
Absolutely. My life has been a testament to that, that you can follow your passion and be successful. You really can, but you really have to believe in yourself. Surround yourself with people that will lift you up instead of pull you back into the bucket. That's so important. Who you surround yourself with. The world it is absolutely a possible world, Katie, like 100%. This is a 100% possible future, but
you
people have
are.
to really understand how to get there.
You're a
Yes.
walking billboard for it. I agree. And
Yeah.
I am
And you
too.
too. Heck yeah, girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, yes, if you believe," but you have to believe in you because no one else can do it for you. No one else can, it's nice when other people believe in you, but you gotta it's really an internal thing.
It has to be icing on the cake. Yeah.
Yes.
You have it has to
Yes.
start from within. Mhm.
Absolutely. So, what do you think the future of work looks like when we integrate emotional intelligence, AI, and human connection?
I'm still dreaming, but it has a lot to do with what we just talked about, like AI
Mhm.
free up capacity for the creative, the connective, the transformational work that really humans should be doing. Human work amplified by machines, not human work done by machines. But I think that the reckoning that needs to happen is we have to figure out what does make us uniquely human because I think so many people have been working like robots.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we have, and the reason why people have been unhappy is because they've been working like robots too, because 'cause we're not supposed to work like robots. We're humans. Yeah,
mhm.
I agree with you. So you and I both love the idea of freeing time for real living. What's one small thing anyone could automate or delegate today to create more room for joy? What do you think?
So, this might not go with exactly what you asked, but my favorite thing to do at the end of every day is to look at what remains on my to-do list and challenge myself to delete one. Delete it,
Yes.
not do it. Because I can almost always find something that I put on my to-do list that I thought I should do, or I'm trying to prove myself or whatever. So that's just like a hack or a thing that I do.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I love to delegate. Delegating for me is like, we have a nanny at our house and I've given her the groceries. Like I'm like, "Hey honey, would you mind
Amazing.
just while you have Paul, you got the baby, he's 3, he's easy to go places. Just
Yep.
here's the grocery list, here's a credit card, go handle the groceries for me." And it's so
And
nice
you
to
probably get a
know.
lot of the same things, like the same kind of like,
And
so
she
yeah,
knows because she's in the house all day
it's
long, and
there.
she knows what we're out of because it impacts her probably more than it impacts me because
True.
she's there with the baby, during the day, and, like, "Would
Yeah.
you mind?" And she loves it. It gets her out of the house, it's a fun thing to do, it's an activity to do, but thank God, it does absolutely creates more room for joy for me because then I'm not it's one less thing for me to do, and it's a couple hours a week of shopping time.
Oh,
That's nice to have a
easy.
couple extra hours a
You have a
week.
very large family, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, totally. So, for women listening who are tired, burnt out, or feeling disconnected, what's one mindset shift that can help them reclaim their energy and their purpose?
At the expense of sounding preachy, I feel very passionate about this, and I want to remind women listening that your patterns were inherited, just like you and I talked about. Like we think, a lot of things happened that were inherited, but your power is not. So, exhaustion from all that invisible work, that is not your failure. You're trying to survive using old programming. It's no longer serving you. So stop asking, how do I fix myself? And start thinking, what is a cycle I'm repeating? Almost like just like it's on repeat that I want to interrupt because it's leaking energy. And I had said this, but like if you're operating from your survival strategies at whatever kept you safe as a child, it might be keeping you small as an adult. I really believe that sometimes we just outsource to instead of AI, like we outsource to these just short circuited patterns. I did create a quiz if people are like, "Well, what is my pattern?" You and I talk perfectionism was one of mine,
Yes.
people pleasing was another one of mine. Um, I do have a quick 8-question quiz on my website if people wanna learn more about a dominant pattern and that energy leak and finding more balance. But I think if you know the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, doing
Keep
the same
doing this.
thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah, and I find that, like, underneath our actions is a pattern that's running it. So that's what for women who might be feeling that burnout or tired or all the question that in your question, yeah, that's what I would
Yeah.
recommend.
Come and take your quiz. Well, I think that's awesome. I'm gonna go take your quiz because 'cause I'm realizing, wow, I've definitely inherited some toxic traits, for sure, toxic resilience in a lot of ways. I'm like, "Oh, your whole idea of toxic resilience has been, like, percolating in my brain since we talked, like, a month ago."
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I
It really
yeah.
has. I was like, "Whoa, that was like they should, like, planted a little seed in there that just kinda grew." It's a
Good.
really cool. Thank you so much for bringing such depth and honesty and innovation to this conversation. You reminded us that leadership isn't just about performance, it's about presence. You've given us permission to question the culture of overwork, to redefine what resilience really means, and to use technology not as a barrier to our humanity, but as a bridge back to it. If you'd like to connect with Dr. Katie Pritchett, it's Pritchett. Follow her on TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Dr. Katie Pritchett. You can also take her free quiz to uncover your toxic resilient survival pattern, like I will, and learn how to sustainably restore balance at work and home. Visit her website at drkatiepritchett.com, and you can take the quiz at drkatiepritchett.com/pattern-quiz. I'll put those in the show notes for everybody. And to everyone listening, remember leadership doesn't always mean doing more. Sometimes it means slowing down, breathing, and choosing to just be human. Stay grounded, stay curious, and keep managing her. Thanks, girls. And thank you, Katie. You're
Oh my
awesome.
goodness. What a pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.